and they set the brief. Of course, we designed great things, and we've seen some great projects today. But at the end, obviously, I think there is that creative satisfaction. But I think what this project is going to showcase is next level satisfaction. I don't know what that means, but I guess you'll see that. So, design for a cause. Sorry. Yeah. So what I'm going to talk about is, sorry, it's a star button. Yeah. So the thing is that what you see right here is an opportunity that we had in 2020 actually. This is where we were, given the opportunity to design an installation for Raw Collaborative at Ahmedabad. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but it's a fantastic platform for creatives to come together. The theme of this event was actually, it was revolving around reviving, contemporizing and giving a platform to the crafts that were hit by the pandemic. So the idea was to uplift the livelihood of a lot of these artisans, across the country. And what you see over here actually are clippings from newspapers, which showcase, how the pandemic really hit artisans. I mean, India is a craft-driven country, as we all know. The context actually was the iconic Mill Owners Association building in Ahmedabad itself, which, as we all know, is a physical manifesto of modern Indian architecture by Corbusier. So, moving on, basically, yeah, the objective actually was threefold. So what we wanted to do was, I think we had to identify a craft, and that was a need of upliftment, but more importantly, one that was accessible during the lockdown, because obviously we were working on this project through the course of the lockdown. The second objective was creating a contextual installation that would actually make Corbusier proud of us. And obviously the last thing was to address its afterlife, because what happens is that most installations actually end up being in landfills, so I think that was one of the most crucial parts of this project. So identifying the craft. Now, the first thing that we did was that we kind of had to work on what was the one craft that we would want to, or the craftsman or the artisan that we would want to work with. Right. So we chose Channapatna, I think primarily because it was accessible at that time. And Channapatna, as you all know, is a toy town in Karnataka. It's home to around 3,000 to 5,000 artisans. And this image here is of one of the artisans, Syed Hamid, who actually, would earn a livelihood would earn an income of 8,000 to 15,000 rupees a month. But of course, during the course of the pandemic, they actually had no income. And they were all badly hit, as were, a lot of people in the country. So what we did was that, so why Channapatna? Essentially, we were keen to explore ways to nurture the dying craft and highlight the potential of the craft economy. So we wanted to empower the community of craftsmen by partnering with them to bring about an innovation and design while preserving their traditional craftsmanship skills, which is very, very important for us. So what we started to do was we started to interpret what Channapatna was all about. So this is what it was. This is what it is currently, and this right here is what we thought it could be, So the idea was that, this is not us yet, we are sorry, but this is a reference image on Pinterest, so don't applaud this yet. But this actually is reference image on Pinterest, where we actually thought that, what if the craft can actually become a tribe or a community in itself, right? So this actually became the starting point for us to start sort of, ideating and modulating. So these are actually our explorations. So Aishwarya from our office actually headed this entire project, quite a rock star. And basically it was a lot of work in terms of understanding the limitations of what these artisans can do and cannot do. And that's the most important part of collaboration. Everyone has skills, but skills come with limitations. And especially being an architect or, being a designer, when you move on from designing buildings and homes to actually designing toys, trust me, it's a whole different ball game, right? So when we had to, and working remotely, where you're actually not even physically present with the artisans to actually understand their tools, everything is done through video calls and whatnot. So this actually were then the refined modules. So if I have to go back a slide, which I hope I can. Right. So can I go back 2 slides, please? For some reason the clickers. Back 1 slide. Alright, I think, okay, that's okay. So this actually were the refined modules, and the next slide that you see is how these modules actually come together. So the idea was that, and you'll see why the toy is also in a certain way. So what you saw earlier were the actual modules in wood. And after that, we kind of also had to make them a little Muselab-y. So Channapatna also has like, the toys have sort of a limited set of colors that they can play with. They're all organic dyes. So they use turmeric, they use indigo, which actually ends up becoming black. They use natural vegetable dyes. And we then sort of had to use those colors to create a sort of a very, fun, whimsical palette for the toys. And of course, once it starts assembling, this is what the toy ends up being. So the idea was to create this toy as a shape-shifting toy, and this was just one assembled toy, and after which it kind of comes together as I've got to learn to use this clicker. But that's actually the entire tribe. I mean, so we were very, very clear that, we wanted to create a family or a community of these toys. They all had to be such that if someone, has all 9 of them, you could actually sort of, interchange them, and you can create like your own shape-shifting modules. So these are obviously 3D visualizations, and after that, there are also some images which kind of talk about the process. Yeah, so this is the manufacturing process, so this is when the artisans are actually sort of manufacturing. So they use a lathe machine, which is what they use to create the toys. So there is also a certain limitation to the width of the toys, right? So modules cannot be more than 2.5 to 3 inches wide. And I think that was like another additional set of limitation, but the toys could not be very wide. What you see on the top right-hand corner is actually literally like, these sausages of Channapatna toys. And what you see below on the bottom right-hand corner are the toys being assembled, and that's part of the installation itself. So this is what we're calling as our tribe, right? So these are the 9 built toys which were a part of the entire Muse tribe. So this project was like we're writing away that it was one where we worked with the artisans to create shape-shifting modular toys which were inclusive and gender-neutral toys. I think that was so important for us, that it shouldn't be that this is for a boy or this is for a girl. It just has to be gender-neutral. They should be shape-shifting. They come in all shapes and sizes. So I think the idea was to in some way inculcate values in children which are beyond what they're taught in school and which are very current, given everything that's going on around in the country. So that's what it was. Now the next thing that we wanted to discuss is actually how we contextualize the installation. So what was very important was that we were supposed to not just create these toys. So making the toys was one thing, but then the other thing was to make an installation. So what we did was, the ramp is actually one of the most iconic architectural elements of the Mill Owners Association. But the staircase, which is the most used element, is also one of the most neglected or taken for granted. So we thought that why not kind of, take advantage of the void that this cantilevered staircase sort of, manifests in some way. And in some way, what if we use that void to sort of transform the perception and also the experience of walking through the staircase by giving the space a new dimension. So then we said that, okay, let's create a screen around it. So these entire set of toys, these 9 toys, were then put into these beads, and this is actually what we presented to the founders of Raw Collaborative. And luckily we didn't have to talk much. The visuals itself kind of convince them that this would be a great experience. I think the idea was that people now start appreciating the void a lot more because they remember this installation from the last year, and I think that's a great recall value for us as well. So this is actually images from the installation itself, and I'll talk a lot more about the collaboration at the end of this presentation. But if you see, the way the light and shadows kind of creates reflections on the concrete surface of the building. It kind of changes the textures there, and it's so pure, right? And funnily, even the colors that are there in Corbusier's building are all with these bright reds and yellows and greens, and for some reason the toys also in some way manifest that. What's interesting over here is that when we were doing the installation, we were not allowed to nail anything on the Mill Owners Association building because, of course, it's a very iconic heritage project. So we had to create this railing in metal, which was then sort of installed on the staircase handrail, where in some and then each of these beads were kind of strung by fish wire. So when we started the entire installation process, they would snap, so we had to figure out tension and suspension and whatnot, and then finally, the installation stood its test of time for 3 days, but I think that was great. The most important thing about this was the afterlife of the installation. What happens is that, whenever we create installation for events, and we've been sort of party to this sort of crime, most of the installations end up going in landfill, and I think here, the afterlife of an idea, so more often than not, installations post an event end up in landfills or warehouses. In this case, the modules of this installation or the assembled toys were distributed to Teach for India schools in Ahmedabad. Thus, by this simple gesture, the installation continues to live a purpose and has a larger life. And I think this was actually the most gratifying, satisfying part of this process, where what happens is that, you obviously have like these kids playing with toys, and we did well up a little bit when we got these videos from people from Teach for India. I think that kind of just made this exercise, as I said earlier, a lot more satisfying, and I think we're just filled with gratitude to have been given this opportunity. I'm just going to play a very quick, actually it's not quick, it's a 3-minute video, but it's something that we put this together ourselves. It's very amateurish, but please enjoy. Have to go back one slide.
Muselab is a family of toys who shapeshift by interchanging body parts that fit onto a central spine. They have been meticulously crafted by the artisans of Channapatna using their skills with wood and lacquer. For the artisans who struggle with marketing their skills in contemporary markets, this encounter with the design fraternity serves to highlight the potential of the craft economy. The suspension process involved passing a slender fishing line through the cylindrical spine of each toy to make them ready for installation on site. 117 such strings, carrying an average of 10 toys each, were then suspended within the void of the staircase at Mill Owners Association. The installation was vibrant and unforgettable, even compared to the iconic ramp built into the facade of the building. All 1,183 members of our Muse tribe greeted the visitor with a play of shadow and color, completely altering the otherwise routine experience of traversing the staircase. One of the most important aspects of this installation was its afterlife. Rather than end up in a landfill after being dismantled, the members of Muse tribe found their way into the hands of children from various NGOs. A tribe of toys, ready to amuse and engage imaginations with their shape-shifting whimsy as they were intended to.
So just like how we are architects but we design toys, there was no videographer over here, there was no voiceover artist over here, there was everyone was an amateur over here who kind of shape shifted and kind of took over different roles to create this, like I said, a very amateur video. I think what was really gratifying about this whole process was that we all kind of, I think this kind of uplifted our studio during the lockdown. It kind of gave us a lot of hope, because you're doing something different for them. With that, everything is there, we're kind of doing good work, and I think that's part of us being designers or architects. But for us as at Muselab, I think for this project to have also sort of somehow happen in the 10th year of our practice, we know that this is probably the best thing that we've ever done, and we probably do in a long time. So we're just very proud of it, and wanted to show this or share this with you guys just as a means to inspire others also, because I think it's just so important to put that smile on someone else's face who's not just your client but someone absolutely unknown. And I think the images of those kids play, we weren't even there to take those videos. It was just random people who shot those videos and we got them on WhatsApp. And I think that was just like, so nothing is staged. I think that's where the emotions actually just speak for themselves. So thank you so much, Ekta. I think very happy to have these 10 minutes, and thank you again. Thanks, guys.